Welcome to Peachtree Injury Talk with attorney Jordan Jewkes.
Hello and welcome to Peachtree Injury Talk with Jordan Jewkes. Jordan strives to give injured victims a voice and provide strong advocacy against an often broken system. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're going to talk about how to deal with difficult adjusters and what to do when these insurance companies aren't playing fair. Jordan, good to see you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Kevin. Good to see you too.
You ready to rail against some insurance companies?
Always, man. That's
Always.
what I do. That's what I love.
It's my favorite thing to do. What are some of the most common tactics that you've seen that insurance adjusters will do to delay or even deny a valid claim?
Yeah. I mean, look, insurance company adjusters, many years ago, they used to be the ones who would try and fairly adjust your claim. But now it feels like the adjusters are the ones who try and turn the tables on you any way they can to make your claim as small and as least valuable as they possibly can. And that's unfortunate. So they will do a myriad of things. They will just outright deny your claim if they can. They will try and blame you for the wreck. They will very often say, this wreck didn't cause your injuries. Your injuries are either made up or you're lying about them, or your injuries are actually pre-existing, meaning you had these long before the wreck. And the wreck really just was a tap, and you're not really injured from the wreck. You're just trying to collect a paycheck from the wreck because all of these injuries predated your wreck or were there prior to your wreck. So give insurance adjusters a ton of credit because they are super creative in trying to find ways to minimize your claim, and that's what they get paid to do.
What is their incentive? Are they incentivized to get that number down?
I think the short answer is yes. Every insurance company is going to have different policies and procedures about how they do this and different compensation systems. But in general, insurance companies are going to get compensated and sometimes bonused for how quickly they close a file and how much under the reserve, or if they settle or pay out the policy under the reserve of what they set aside for the claim. And just in brief, what that essentially means is when an insurance adjuster first opens a claim, let's say it's a traditional car wreck claim, you get rear-ended. Of the available policy amount that the other driver, the at-fault driver, has, the insurance company will set a reserve. It's just a number they set or a benchmark they set where they set aside a certain amount of that policy, and maybe $10,000 or maybe $20,000. And the insurance company, once that reserve is set, the adjuster is supposed to settle the case or close out the case at or under that reserve. So yeah, they want to settle it under the reserve and they want to settle it quick. And depending on the insurance company, the adjuster will get paid or commissioned or bonused based on how quickly they do those things.
Okay. I figured as much. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a lot of motivation for them to do that,
Yeah, certainly.
So what can people do to protect themselves from being pressured into either admitting fault or accepting a lowball offer? What do you recommend from people?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things you can do. The first thing I would say is always stay calm and be careful with any immediate offers from the insurance company. I mean, Kevin, probably the most common claim we get or thing we hear from people who've been injured is, I got in a wreck and the next day I got called by the insurance company and they offered me, $500 or $1,000 or even $1,500. And the reason the insurance companies do that out the gate is because they are trying to, I guess, hedge their bets. And they know that the more time goes by, the more those injuries sink in. And sometimes people don't realize how bad they're injured until 3 or 4 days go by, sometimes even a week or so go by, sometimes longer. And the insurance companies know if we pay a little bit more than we want to, especially to someone who may be cash strapped or doesn't want to fiddle with the injury process, they know a certain amount of folks out there will actually sign and accept that first settlement offer. So I would say stay calm, make sure you get the medical treatment you need, and don't get involved with the drama of the insurance adjuster, and just be patient through the process and don't settle anything until you feel like you've got the medical treatment you need and your injuries are better.
Yeah, it just feels shady. I mean, I know that there's a lot of things that insurance companies do that are shady, but it's like just to immediately just offer you some cash to make you go away and may have you sign something. So even if you're actually hurt, I mean, it seems shady to me. How's that okay?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. And I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think it's underhanded because the goal is to pressure someone, whether they admit it or not. The purpose is to pressure someone into settling something quick in hopes that it doesn't balloon into a much bigger claim. And so the problem is in Georgia and most states, once you sign on that settlement agreement and that money gets sent to you, you can't do anything about it. I mean,
You're
it's
done.
really hard to overturn one of those.
Yeah.
And so we've had people that have called and said, I signed $1,500 or whatever, however much it was, that ABC insurance company offered me because I didn't think I was that injured, but this nagging neck thing won't go away. I still can't get a good night's sleep. And now my doctor's telling me I need some injections or even worse, like a surgery. And if you signed and you've accepted the money, there's almost very little that we can do, even with from an attorney's perspective, to overturn that, and you're stuck with it. And believe me, the insurance companies know that, and that's what they're hoping to avoid. And so, yeah, I think if there was one thing that the legislature should do is make those agreements voidable or be able to rescind them within a certain amount of time, 30 days or 60 days to protect consumers, because it really is insurance company preying on the uninformed.
Yeah, uninformed, and maybe people who see that dollar and they're like, "Oh, $1,500, boy, I could use that."
Yeah, you're exactly right, and it's usually people who don't understand the process, who haven't spoken to an attorney, and don't appreciate the severity of their injury.
Do you have to talk to the adjuster? If the adjuster calls you, can you be like, "Yeah, I don't want to talk to you," or do you kind of?
No, I mean, there's certainly no law out there that says you have to speak to the adjuster.
Yeah.
And in fact, once we talk to a client and they agree to go with us, we tell them not to talk to the adjuster, especially about their injuries. Now, we will tell them, hey, go ahead and talk to the adjuster to help out or to get your car repaired, because frankly, you know more about your vehicle and where it's at and the damage done to it than we do. But we want to be the ones to control the narrative and to be able to discuss the injuries, because that, generally speaking, is something that's going to affect you much more long-term than the damage to your vehicle. So, yeah, I mean, yes, you can talk to the adjuster, especially about the wreck. But the one thing that is you've got to be aware of is anything you say to the adjuster will be used against you. And so you just have to be really, really careful. And so when in doubt, go talk to an attorney first. And if the attorney thinks you've got a claim, and then certainly go with an attorney that can help you through that process and really protect you and keep the value of your claim at a fair or significant place.
If you're my lawyer, I'm the defendant or the plaintiff, and I'm just talking to the adjuster about my car stuff. Will they still try to get some info out of me about my injuries?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what the insurance companies do. We usually tell them and this is verbatim what we tell our clients, you can talk to them to call the adjuster, or when the adjuster calls you, say, I've hired counsel, I've hired an attorney, but my attorney has advised me that I cannot speak to you about my injuries. I can only speak to you about the damage to the vehicle. That really precludes the insurance company from asking any questions about what happened in the wreck, about the injuries that you sustained, anything like that. And honestly, it's unethical for an insurance company, and down the road they can be sanctioned if they go beyond that. They know that. And so most insurance companies will actually respect that. But on occasion, you have some that try and bend the rules. And again, usually the client can realize that and will say, I'm not comfortable talking to you about this.
We've talked about this a little bit on this show before, but in these situations, when someone wants to try to save some bucks and try to handle it on their own, what are the pitfalls that you see when someone goes down that road instead of hiring an attorney?
Oh gosh, I mean, we've seen it all. And on occasion, if you don't have major injuries, we have seen some folks successfully negotiate a claim with an insurance company. It's not impossible to do. The thing you have to remember is the insurance companies they're really, really good at processing data. They just have a tremendous amount of data because they deal with claims just like yours. Whatever your claim is, if you were in a wreck later today, or if you were in a wreck yesterday, I promise the insurance company has seen your exact situation at least 1,000 times, if not 10,000 or 100,000 times. And so they are really, really good at analyzing data and determining what bad settlement, a good settlement, and a great settlement all look like. and they will do everything they can to try and to convince you that you are only deserving of a low settlement. And so you just have to appreciate that you cannot trust the insurance company because they use that data against you. And it's not just data, it's resources. And it's money, it's investigators, it's attorneys behind the scene that are talking to the adjusters. And the adjusters, what they're really good at is making you feel comfortable. Like, hey, I'm so glad you're doing well. I think we can probably settle this for $1,000. Does that sound good? And they make you feel like, hey, they're a warm blanket out there to help you, when it's like this treacherous, person there, and all these people lurking behind the scenes, just saying, yes, settle, and because that's what they do. So yeah, I mean, the pitfalls are really talking to the insurance company and understating your injuries. And we're as guys, we do that all the time. We often say, hey, look, I'm rough and tough. I'm not that injured. And then lo and behold, that's used against us in court, a year later when we're complaining because we've had a neck surgery or something like that. So
right. Yeah, that's a good point. Us guys like to rub some dirt on it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you said that about the insurance companies trying to, the warm blanket thing, because you watch the commercials and you see stuff and it's always like, we're on your side, we got your back, we're here for you, we want to help you. And it's like, that's part of that narrative, I suppose, is trying to be that friendly voice when you're talking about a claim.
Yeah, I mean, and you're exactly right. Like, you're in good hands, or whatever the advertising is. I find it almost comical that the insurance companies, generally speaking, that spend the most on advertising are often the ones who are the worst to deal with. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And you can look up most of these insurance companies are public companies, and you can look up their data online. You can see how much their advertising spends are on a yearly basis, or their marketing spends, and it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And you say to them, well, why are you spending so much money to convince the public that you are fairly adjusting and treating their claims, when anyone who goes through the process, almost anyone, knows that it's not a fair process, and they do everything they can to minimize your claims. So yeah, it's a comical way that they do business, but it is what it is.
Yeah, as a sports fan, I mean, it's crazy. It's like constant insurance commercials. Like they really, really go for that market for sure. So I mean,
they do. I mean, watch any sporting event, and it's like the insurance companies telling us, that you're in good hands, or whatever it is. Yeah, it's rampant.
The funny stuff and the folksy stuff and all that. Yeah, it's definitely rampant. They're trying to create an image, no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
When you have somebody who might be a little more aggressive, an adjuster who doesn't have that warm blanket approach, or maybe tried that and it didn't work, so then they get a little more aggressive, hostile. How do you deal with those kind of adjusters, and what's your advice to people on how to deal with those kind of adjusters?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the best way to deal with an adjuster is to mirror their behavior. Right? You act as they are acting. And that's not just for adjusters, it's for defense attorneys. It's for really people who are aggressive. Adjusters who tend to be more aggressive, they usually have been trained that way, or they're too young to know what they're doing. But the best way to deal with an overly aggressive adjuster is to be professional with them and to be confident in your position. What you don't want to do, you don't want to escalate things without purpose. And I tell this to my clients all the time, but you don't want to litigate just because you get mad. You don't want to make it personal. And sometimes an adjuster who has become very aggressive for some reason has made this personal. And there's a lot of things we try and do to prevent that. We try and set expectations to keep them informed along the way. But some insurance companies just want their adjusters to be aggressive and to try and quickly close these claims for minimum value. And they almost become insulting and personal, it feels like. But the best way to combat that is to be professional, to use the law on your side, and to move forward confidently in your claim. And frankly, that type of approach, an aggressive adjuster can take advantage of a lot of people who don't have representation, because you'll get scared, or they'll become impatient, or they'll feel threatened. they'll say, well, I don't want to litigate this against this person because I feel like they're being so aggressive against me. And I guess that works on some people, but we have found that a lot of times the most aggressive adjusters are the ones that don't really know what they're doing. They're just they're not confident, and so they're relying on this aggression to sort of overcompensate for what they lack otherwise.
Well, what is the saying? You catch more flies with honey than vinegar, and if you go, I feel like
I
you
like,
have a better.
yeah, that's exactly right. I think that's.
I feel like you'd have a better shot at if you're talking to a person's attorney. That's one thing, but if you're talking to the person themselves, I feel like you'd have a better shot at doing something if you take that warm blanket approach that you talked about. It feels like that would be smarter from my view.
I think we find that we tend to deal with a lot of the same adjusters on cases. We definitely deal with a lot of the same defense attorneys once we file litigation. A lot of them are our neighbors. And some of the insurance companies have local offices or branches in our area. And we can see the adjusters like at community events or at school or something. And so we definitely take the approach of, hey, this isn't going to be my first case with you, and it's not going to be my last case with you. We're going to see you again. So let's sort of take a positive approach. We can try and work things out in a mutual agreeable solution. And I'm not saying that we leave something on the table with that approach, but it doesn't need to be a scorched earth, very aggressive, what I would call a win-lose situation where we have to get so much that the insurance company loses and they feel like they're going to lose every time they go against us. I mean, yes, we want to be aggressive in what we do, but we also have to remember that we're going to see this adjuster again. And it really goes to us saying when we are confident and we're confident in our case and our skills and we're not afraid to try a case, that's ultimately how you hold the insurance company's feet to the fire. If the law firm or your attorney isn't willing to try a case or to go to try and actually win a case, that's a huge red flag, because that means the insurance company they're up against aren't going to respect them either and aren't going to offer them full or maximum value for their case.
So it feels like the lesson kind of is, if the insurance company is calling you and being a little aggressive or you're not quite sure like that this is fair, you got to talk to an attorney, a professional.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, and at a minimum, I would say at least consult with an attorney. And like I said at the beginning, it's not impossible for the layperson to successfully navigate a claim, but it becomes much more difficult when you're up against a well-funded insurance company who has a lot of strategy and defenses. And so, the more complicated the case is, the more significant the injuries are, the more important it is for you to at least talk with an attorney. And most attorneys like myself will sit down with you and sort of give you some advice on it. But ultimately, we retain a lot of clients who just don't want to deal with the insurance company. And I've never seen a case where we weren't able to negotiate a higher amount than the injured party was on their own.
Right. Yeah. And you made the point earlier, there's nothing, your case, they've seen it thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of times.
Right.
So it's not like they are armed with all the data, all the information, all the experience, all the high priced people. They know what they're doing. You're going in blind if you try to do it on your own. So like you said, it could work out, but if you're starting to get the creeps a little bit, it's time to find somebody who knows what they're doing.
That's exactly right. And if the bottom line is, if the insurance companies, if they acted fairly, if they fairly approached the claims process and had an honest conversation with the injured, the injured person, and they said something to the effect of, hey, we want you to get better. We're sorry about what happened. We will do everything we can to make sure this process is as simple as possible. We will pay for your medical bills. We'll pay a fair amount for pain and suffering and the amount of time you lost for work. If they were upfront about all this and actually fairly did it, I wouldn't have a job. And, I'd be doing transactional work somewhere, or I'd be helping people draft wills or whatever.
Yeah.
But consistently and predictably, the insurance companies do just the opposite. They try and hide what a fair value is. They don't tell people what their options are. They try and minimize the claim. And people can sense that, right? 99% of us can sense when someone's trying to pull the wool over your eyes.
Sure.
and you just start to feel, like you said, this doesn't quite feel right, or it usually starts with the negotiation on the vehicle. Like, I just bought my truck 2 months ago and you're offering me, $15,000 less than the purchase price. That just doesn't seem fair, right? So we usually can sense when something's wrong, and the insurance companies, they're still not good at doing that, at least not with most people.
Definitely seems that way. All right. Well, thank you for joining us on Peachtree Injury Talk with Jordan Jewkes. To connect with Jordan and his team, visit jewkesfirm.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate you having you here. Jordan, I always appreciate you joining me. Thanks so much for all the insight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.